Well, we are here at Miami Fruit and Spice Park, and with us is Louise, who's a horticulturist here and knows a lot about the park. Behind us is the entrance to the park. That's important because you're going to want to visit this place. But Louise, could you tell us a little bit about the history of the park?
Sure. This park was created in 1944, and it was originally designed to show people what could grow in this area. Most of the people that were moving into the Redland area were from up north, were from Michigan and New York, and they were coming to Florida expecting to be able to grow apples and grapes and peaches, things that they grew back home. But when they got here and they planted those things and they miserably failed, they realized this isn't going to work. And it didn't work because this is a tropical climate and soil, different kind of soils. So this park was kind of like a demonstration area to show people what they could grow. Instead of growing peaches, they could grow mangoes. They could grow jackfruit, lychees, longans, guava, all these wonderful tropical flavors and trees that they weren't able to grow up north. So this park was a demonstration farm, sort of, for up until about the 1970s. And at that point, Chris Rollins, some of you might recognize that name, he came here as the manager, and he was, as you say, a tropical fruit enthusiast. He loved tropical fruit.
And then some.
And then some, yes. And he came here, and he brought with him, like he liked to say, he brought with him his dowry of about 17 jackfruit trees, which he planted here in the park. He expanded the scope and focus of the Fruit and Spice Park. He traveled the world with volunteers from the community, other people who were enthusiastic about tropical fruits, and he collected seeds, and he collected cuttings, which were a little bit easier to get into the country at that time, and they planted them here at the park. So the variety of tropical fruits greatly expanded. Well, in 1992, Hurricane Andrew came, and since the eye went right over here, this park was just leveled. Very few things survived. But with that tragic event, an opportunity presented itself in that now they could redesign and institute a plan they'd been thinking about, a new master plan, to make this park an ethnobotanical park, to show the public how man utilizes plants from around the world. So they divided the park into 5 different regions of the world: Africa, Asia, Australia and the Pacific Islands, tropical America, and the Mediterranean climate. And in each of those sections of the park, they planted plants that the people in that region of the world utilized, whether it was for food or for fiber, for clothing, for religious significance or economic importance. They wanted to show how people used plants in different regions of the world. And that is still the focus of the park today. This is the only ethnobotanical park in the United States. So we're pretty happy and pretty proud about that.
Yeah, I know you have a huge number of trees,
yes.
Very diverse things. And, so if you happen to be from a certain part of the world and you
Yes.
come here and go to the appropriate area of the grove, it will feel like home, I assume, for
Yes.
a lot of people.
We are within, I think, about 100 miles of 3 international airports. And that brings a lot of visitors from all over the world. And they come here and they go into that section of the park from where they're from, and they recognize the trees from back home. Maybe their grandmother made a special dish, or they made a necklace out of some sort of beads or something. It has an instant connection to the majority of people that come here.
So I know that this is a very popular place, but especially on weekends, I assume.
Yes, it is. Saturday and Sundays are quite busy. But it's a 40-acre park, so you can spread out.
Right.
But if you like a little bit more relaxed, a little bit quiet visit, during the week is a little bit better time.
Yeah, it's great. You know, we are here in the middle of the week, and there are very few people right now.
Right.
And so, you know, I'm hoping to take a look inside the park, but I do want to, you know, like mention again that this is a great destination. And when you get here, hopefully you can get here during the week and not on the weekend. So you have lots of parking opportunities. And you go into this house here, actually, I guess did it used to be a house?
It's a replica of a schoolhouse.
Oh, okay.
And this replica of the schoolhouse used to live right across the street where the church is now. And Hurricane Andrew leveled it. So they were able to resurrect or redesign.
Recreate.
Recreate the schoolhouse right here. And the old cafe is a typical pioneer house.
So yeah, you definitely, I mean, there's stuff to buy in there, but that's also the entrance to the park. And so you can go through the park, and then after you see all the wonderful things, you can go to the cafe and eat.
Yes. Yes. Well, and also too, we have that rule that you're welcome to sample any of the fruits that have fallen onto the ground here in the park. Just make sure you know what it is, because there are a few fruits that could make you give you a stomach ache. But they're well marked within the park. But you're more than welcome to share with the rabbits and the raccoons any fruit that you find on the ground.
Yeah, that I'm sure is a very popular part of the whole experience.
It is, especially during mango season.
Yes. Well, thanks very much.
You're welcome.
I'm hoping that you can show us one of those areas of the park right now.
Will do.
Sounds good. Okay, so here we are with a whole nother environment. Where are we now? We
have now walked into Australia and the Pacific Island part of the park. And in here, this area encompasses from Australia, from Hawaii, all the way across the Pacific up to Australia and up into the islands around the equator. And we have an interesting collection of plants here, some of which you know about and some might be sort of familiar with. We've got this one right here. This is the finger lime. You might have heard this one. This has recently become quite popular. And in the University of Florida, they are trying to study it to see whether or not it is a potential commercial crop for here in Florida. It's a type of citrus, and that they are looking at to see whether or not it is susceptible to greening. And so far, it's looking very good that we can grow them here and they do not get the greening condition. It's a shrub. It has little tiny fruits. Where did they go? Here they are. Right here. Whoops. These are very small. They'll get about the size of your thumb. And if I didn't mention it, these are very full of thorns, very sticky. So if you go in there to harvest them, make sure you're wearing some long gloves. This variety that we have here is a green variety, but they also have a yellow and pink flesh. They look just like a lime from the inside, like the Persian lime. They have the little tiny vesicles full of juice, and they often are sold as caviar. Yeah, I always saw that on some very fancy restaurants. Yes.
They serve that. They come in different colors,
yes.
And they'll put 3 different colors of this, and I guess peel at least part of the fruit and have it not only as decoration, which looks great.
Yes, it
but
does.
also you can eat it.
Yes, and oftentimes they'll squeeze them out onto there. You have these little tiny vesicles that give you that caviar appearance, and they often will put it on fish. And it's very tasty. It's tart. It's like a lime, but this has a lot of potential for the Florida growers down here. Okay, you swing over this way. You might recognize this one as a macadamia. many people think that macadamia comes from Hawaii, but it doesn't. It comes from the Australia area. It's just been commercially developed there in Hawaii. And here you can see it here. But it's been grown in Florida since about the middle of the 1900s. It's a very difficult crop to process. This shell is very, very hard. And I've heard people putting them on the garage floor and running their cars over it to crack them. It's very tasty. We have about 9 trees here, about 2 or 3 varieties, but it's very flavorful. It never really became a commercial crop here. It has a lot of issues with anthracnose. It's a little too humid here in Florida for that, but it's a good dooryard tree. And let's see, what else here? Over here in the far end, blowing in the wind, that's the kukui, or the candle nut tree. And that is the national tree of Hawaii. And the reason it's called that is because the nuts that are inside the fruits there, it's the size of a nickel, that bit round, and it has an incredibly high oil content. And before the days of electricity, the people in Hawaii would light that little kukui nut, and it gave off just a little bit of light that they could use that and see that at night. And of course we had to try that, and we got one of those little votive candle holders and put a couple nuts in there and lit it with a lighter, and sure enough, it lights. It's not got a big flame, but if you have nothing, then it was enough light. But that's the kukui, or the candle nut.
So how many different varieties of fruit and nut trees do you have from this particular area of the world?
Oh, right. In the Australia and the Pacific area, probably maybe 30 different varieties and species of trees that we have here. We have eucalyptus over here on the right. We have the rainbow eucalyptus. People know that from the oils.
That was beautiful. I saw that.
And the wood, yeah. We have the banyan nut, which is right in this little cage here. This gets very, very tall, well over 100 feet in Australia. It produces huge, huge nuts that inside have edible nuts that the Aboriginal people in Australia would come to gather them and then take them back to wherever the part of Australia that they were living in. But it was they fruited about every 2 or 3 years, and all the tribes from the area would come to where all these trees were, and they would gather the nuts and then come back. So it was kind of like a reunion of sorts.
Oh, great. Well, this is a young tree. You're protecting it from wind now.
Right.
How long before it gets big enough to actually produce the nuts?
Oh, I think we gotta wait. We gotta wait. It's a ways to go. It's a very tall tree. I've seen pictures of them. They're, the bottom whirl of leaves is maybe 20 feet, 30 feet in the air, and then these huge, they're bigger than a football, these nuts are. So I think we've got a long wait.
Yeah, don't hold my breath.
No.
Well, thanks very much.
You're welcome.
A great look at the trees and fruits from the Pacific Islands and Australia.
Yes.
So this is an impressive feature. I hadn't seen this until right now, and it's just like a beautiful, like piece of paradise.
Yes, it is, and it has a wonderful sound.
Yes.
It's very restful. We have a lot of people just coming here, and they'll sit at the picnic tables nearby under the shade, and you can just hear that wonderful, soothing sound. It's a very restful place, and it's very photogenic. The purpose of this whole park now is to emphasize man's dependence upon plants and how he utilizes them. Everybody all around the world depends on plants, and we just want people to understand how our lives are very, very much connected to the plant world.
So the park is open like pretty much all the time, every day.
I think every day but Christmas and Thanksgiving, maybe. Something like, it's like 2 days that it's not open.
So, like if you're in the area, this is a great place to stop. And Could you describe sort of the experience that a lot of people have in the park?
Okay, what we have here in the park is we have guided tours throughout the day, tram rides. They're narrated by very knowledgeable guides here, and they take you all around the world and show you and talk about many of the plants that we saw today. We have a self-guided walking tour. We have classes here that people can attend on cultural practices or cooking. I'm doing one on preservation, canning the harvest probably in June. But various topics. And we have stargazing activities. We have in the spring and in the fall, we have the Southern Cross Astronomical Society come. They bring their telescopes and we set them out in the open field. And we have it normally very close to a full moon. Mm-hmm. And they'll put their telescopes on the moon or on the planets or on the stars. And it's a wonderful opportunity for people to come out and into a dark, safe area lit by the moon. We have a campfire. We sell some more kits. So it's very much a family evening.
Yeah, and you do festivals beyond that,
in
right?
addition to that, yes, we have festivals, about 4 or 5 a year. They're scattered pretty much throughout the year. We have a heritage festival that talks about the heritage, the area, the history of the area, and it celebrates the plants and the fruits that we have here. We just had a blues and barbecue festival where we had blues bands come. We had barbecue trucks for selling barbecue.
Sounds like fun.
It was great, very relaxing. We have the summer fruit festival in June, and that celebrates all of the fruits that we have during that time. We usually have a very large mango display, so it's a good opportunity to see the different types of cultivars, and maybe you can find the one that's growing on the unidentified tree in your yard, hopefully.
Yeah, we did notice a huge number of mango varieties here.
Yes.
Do you have any idea about how many you have?
We have about 225, 30 mango trees, and we have about 180 known cultivars. So it's quite a selection.
Yeah,
Yes.
It's great. Yeah.
It's a great one. And speaking of mangoes, we have a support club, the Tropical Fruit and Vegetable Society, the Redland, who has been with the park since the 1980s. They have been supporting us, and they put on an educational class called Mango Mania. And it's right about the time of the Summer Fruit Festival. And they collect many different types of mangoes, and they give samples. You eat till you're sick of mangoes. And they also have a well-known lecturer. We've had Jonathan Crane in the past. We've had Richard Campbell, Mike Winterstein from USDA. They give a class, about a 2-hour lecture, and talks about the history and harvesting and growing, many different aspects of mangoes. So if you're a mango lover, this is a great class to go to.
So, I mean, not only is this a great place to come if you just happen to be in town and you want to see all sorts of trees from around the world, the tropical world, but I've noticed some people in the park that seem to be regulars, and I'm assuming that you have a year-long membership available also?
Yes, we do. We have a daily pass, but we also have a lifetime membership. An annual membership. You can purchase that membership, and you're welcome to come throughout the year at any time. We have one person that comes here and does walking all around the park.
It's a beautiful place. Yeah, beautiful place.
Yeah. It's a wonderful place to be, and it's a wonderful place to work. I've enjoyed my time here.
Well, thanks so much, Louise.
You're welcome.